24th of February. Rather than go into any forms today, I want to talk a little bit about some of the home training things we can do. Yesterday at Fife, we had 2 yoga blocks, and we were using them. I'm going to do the same types of things today, but I'll show it with 1 yoga block. And what we're looking for is to be able to slow down the step, working on our single leg balance, but doing it in a more dynamic way. So rather than just bringing up the leg and just holding it here, there are a number of other things we can do to make that a little more practical, kind of bring it into what you would normally do in your day. Using a yoga block, and of course, because of the shape of this, there are 3 ways we can set it. We can have it flat down, that's the lowest. I call that the lowest setting. We can tip it up on the long edge, gets a little taller, a little narrower to deal with, and we can tip it up on the short edge. So if what we're targeting here is the top, it's a very small base, very small top. So we were doing this with side taps before. You could also do it with taps to the front or even taps to the back, although that one's going to be a little tricky because you have to get the foot up and the leg swing high enough so that you can get past the block. But let's show the side. So we're standing beside the block, toes probably about halfway back from the block. I'm going to back up so a little bit so I'm in frame. And then we're just tapping. It's just a tap. We're not stepping on the block, we're just tapping it. Now, this one's going to be fairly easy. Probably shouldn't be knocking the block around too much. And we set it up on the long edge. A little bit higher, a little bit less of a base of support for the block. Similar to when we put our feet together or we put our feet in tandem. We've just kind of given the block that same base of support. Coming up, just a tap. Just a tap. Now, what you'll notice is if you go too fast, you'll knock your block over. That's the trick. We don't want to knock the block over. Control is the name of the game. So up nice and slow, a little tap, and down, and tap, and down. And you can either set the block on the other side to do the other side, or maybe get some other steps in. Take a step back, and a step to the side, and then step up to the other one. No reason not to get those extra steps in different directions. On the other foot, step, step and tap. It's just a tap. We're not putting any pressure on the block. And then progress it all the way to the top. So step and tap. You'll have to really slow down because that block is not being supported by a whole lot at this point. Very small base of support. And again, doing both sides. Tap. Tap. So that's the one we worked on. A little bit of a variation on what we've done before. In the tandem stance, ideally, we can do this without anything at all, and that's how I'll show it. We get into our tandem stance, and there's a lot of ways to challenge that. We can challenge it with motion, we can challenge it with head motion, we can challenge it by closing our eyes, bringing our arms out to the side or overhead or in front. An interesting way to challenge it that we haven't looked at yet is to bring the hands out front as if we're holding something. And perhaps taking that a step further, if we're taking an item and moving it from side to side, or simply holding an item that we're trying not to drop. So if we're using an example like a beanbag, let me grab anything here. Here we got a little box here. So if I put this box in one hand, go ahead and get in the tandem stance, just bring the hands out front. And you're just going to transfer that over from hand to hand. So a different way to challenge it than we've done before. We can do this, we'll do this in a couple weeks with bean bags. There's a couple of different things we do with little, very tiny bean bags. But that would be another thing that you could have, a hacky sack or a bean bag or something like that. So the forms that we are working on right now, all the way through number 7. Fair Lady works at the Shuttle. I'll show both the last 2 that we worked on from the back. So brush knee, starting in the right ball, we step out with a diagonal bow step. The low hand brushes past the knee, the other hand pushes forward. We do our normal weight shift and pivot, so we can step to left ball, and then we go the other way. Stepping out on the diagonal, low hand brushes, the other hand pushes. So Fair Lady works the Shuttle. So we have our diagonal bow step, we have our side step, which we generally modify a little bit on the single whip. Fair Lady Works the Shuttle, we want to take that about halfway. So it looks like this. So from the right ball, we're going to step out. And then as the weight comes over that leg, just take your ball and roll it. When the palms face to the outside, stop. You've done the movement. We do our normal weight shift, pivot the foot, step up, and then all we have to do to get into left ball is turn the hands in toward one another. So a very simple movement, a little bit elegant, a little magic trick there at the end where we're up here and then we just go and the hands are in the right place. So we'll work through Fair Lady Works the Shuttle both days today, get those first 7 forms down. Next week this is week 7. Week 8, we will finish off the regular forms with grasping the peacock's tail. And then the remaining weeks, we'll do some refinement on the forms and we'll introduce a formal opening and closing for the practice. So in Tai Chi, we generally open with a Tai Chi salute, followed by stepping out. The commencing move is fairly standard. We also have a formal move on the end, which is the same ending move as the Yang style short form set. So I will see my folks in West Bend this afternoon, and take care. Have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.